Okay, whenever you're ready.
It was supposed to be order February 4th, 2025. Let's begin the I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We get a roll call for this.
Board Member Britnell. Board Member Martirana. Board Member Pisano. Board Member Sanchez. Chair DeBreeze.
I'm here. Thank you. Okay, first up, election of a chair and a vice chair of the Historic Resources Board.
You just want to make sure that your mics are on and that you're speaking close to the thing, just to make sure that the voice gets recorded on.
First up is the election of a chair and a vice chair this evening in San Juan Bautista.
It should be a
Coming
great
to you live.
spokesperson. Thank you.
No, life's too short to be boring, right? So we have to elect a chair and a vice chair. I was the chair last year. I don't even know who the vice chair was. Can't remember. Huh?
Maderos,
Was it Dave?
yeah.
So Dave was with us for a long time and he hung up the cleats. And now we have, before we get into elections and so forth, I just want to say welcome to all the new folks. Chris is kind of an old hat in some ways. He was on the city council for a long time, UGB committee, never been on the planning commission before. So he's looking forward, I know, too, because I've talked with him and worked with him a lot about on this thing. Looking forward to being here. So welcome, Chris. Elise from South Valley Internet lives now in the what do we call that, Creek Bridge development, and she just got sworn in. And then Eddie down on the end, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I know you are. We're excited to have you guys, and it's going to be a great year. And of course, lovely Ida Pisano, who has been on for a while, both Planning Commission and HRB. And we've done some great things. So it's good. It is going to be a great year for both history and planning. So with that said, are there any suggestions or nominations for the role of chair for the HRB?
I'd like to nominate Ida for the role of chair.
I'd like to second that motion, actually.
I'd like to nominate Dan DeVries to be chair for 2025.
Your mic wasn't on. You turned it off.
Oh, I did. Okay, now it's on. I'd like to nominate Dan DeVries as continuing chair for the Historic Resources Board.
Well,
So,
we had a motion and a second.
Oh, we did.
no, but are you accepting the nomination or are you rejecting the nomination? If you reject the nomination, then you can nominate somebody else.
That's why we need Liz. She always
Yes.
What if we want to nominate Dan for? Oh, but it's.
We have to wait.
So it's not a problem. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you accept or do you reject the
So
nomination?
Chris nominated you. You have to say yes or no to the nomination.
I think. Just a second.
I'll accept.
Okay. And I've already seconded. So all in favor of Ida being the chair of the HRB this year?
Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to do the roll call vote.
Sure.
So Board Member Britnell, Board Member Martirana,
Aye.
Board Member Pisano,
Aye.
Board Member Sanchez.
I would actually like to nominate Commissioner DeBreeze.
So yeah, so we have to go for, we have to do this one first.
Oh,
Call
okay.
for the motion because
Yes.
Committee Member Pisano already agreed to it.
Okay,
So,
yes.
yes, okay. And then Chair DeBreeze.
Yes.
Okay. So now you can swap.
Swapping now?
No,
Yep, you gotta
Now I'm.
we're just getting started.
Oh, jeez.
Now,
Okay, okay.
Here's our city attorney.
Hello, City Attorney.
Good evening.
Okay. So taking over the resources, right? Okay. Now that we've nominated the chair, let's see, we'll take the nominations for board vice chair for 1-year term. Opening the floor to nominations for the officer position of vice chair, and self-nomination is acceptable.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner DeVries for vice chair.
Second,
Oh, geez. I'd like to nominate Liz to be the vice chair. Just kidding.
So Board Member DeBreeze, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay.
okay,
You got to vote.
yep,
We got to vote on that. Liz,
So-
making a vote.
Yes, calling the
Taking a vote
question.
for,
Yes.
The nomination of Commissioner DeVries as the vice chair for the 1-year term.
Board Member Britnell. Board Member Amar Tarana.
Aye.
Board Member DeBreeze.
Okay, yes.
Board Member Sanchez
Yes.
and Chair Pisano.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. We are now in the general public comments. This is the time for general public comments on items that are not on the agenda, are under the city's subject matter jurisdiction. The board will not be engaging. If you have anything that requires follow-up, staff will get back to you. Any general comments?
No speaker cards received and seeing no hands raised on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Consent, 2 items on the consent agenda. Will any board member wish to pull any item for separate vote? Does any member of the public wish to pull an item for separate vote or discussion? So look at 4A and 4B. Anyone want to pull anything?
Madam Chair, in the absence of a motion to pull an item, I would move that both consent A and B be approved.
Second.
Aye.
Calling the question for approval of the consent agenda, Board Member Britnell,
Aye.
Board Member DeBreeze,
Yes.
Board Member Martirana,
Aye.
Board Member Sanchez,
Yes.
and Chair Pisano.
Yes.
Motion carried.
So we're moving right along. Review and discuss 2025 Historic Resources Calendar. Ilse, take the floor.
Thank you. Part of this agenda, we developed the HRB calendar for 2025. It's in your packets. So we do have an ongoing list of the dates here for 2025. For January 7th, that meeting was canceled due to no quorum. Instead, we had a city council meeting where HRB members were appointed. So that's just that difference in the color of the square there. But if there are any other dates listed on the calendar that the board feels that should be moved, I'm totally open for discussion on those dates and determining a better date for those.
Do any of the board members have questions regarding the calendar or additions to it?
No.
And everyone have it?
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing that there are no questions, any public comment?
No hands raised on Zoom and nobody present in chambers, Madam Chair.
So 5B, future agenda items, again, Ms. Lopez Narvaez, if you would, please.
Of course. So for the HRB, I have this item on here to discuss future agenda items that the board would like to see brought up within this 2025 calendar year. So far, from conversations with you all, which thank you all for taking the time to meet with me the past 2 weeks. Here are 2 items that were common and identified. One of them is the Historic Resources Design Review Permit Process for minor and major projects, and an overview of historic resources preservation. It's essentially a review of the Muni Code for historic resources preservation. So if there are any other items related to historic resources, historic preservation, I wanted to open up the floor to you all to see if you'd like me to add anything to future agenda items and so on.
Do any of the board members have any questions or comments regarding future agenda?
I have a suggestion that you maybe start at one end and just run
Okay.
down the board.
Okay. Any comments?
Not at this time.
Okay. Commissioner DeVries?
Yes.
Comments, questions?
Yes, just an editorial comment. We'll say I appreciate you putting this together. And I know that I'm gonna have future ideas, let's call them, but they're not quite in focus enough. But maybe I can get with you and we can hash them out a little bit and see what you think. And then if they're appropriate, get them on calendar.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Bretnall?
I've got several and I apologize. When you say the HRB permit process, do they want us to completely redo the permit process, streamline it? Specifically, what are we looking at?
So this was just an overview of what the permit process is for the city. And it's more to show you all what the process looks like from the planning department in regards to first, what application they need to use in regards to that process or those specific permits, what applies and the fees, and also what that process looks like. So who reviews it after HRB approves it, or if there's comments, stuff like that. So it's just more of a procedural overview of those items. I know from speaking with you all, we also want to make amendments to that. But that's definitely part of our planning commission ongoing lists. But I just wanted to put that one on there for you all, because that way you can all see what the process looks like from the city side.
Okay. In regard, HRB preservation or historic preservation, that's a broad scope. What is it specifically that you're looking for from us? And I don't need an exact ABC. What I'm looking for is more of a general scope. In this bucket, we want this. In this bucket, we're looking at this. In this bucket, we're looking at this.
Yes, that's a great question. So that's up to you all to make that determination, what you all want to hear, what you all want to learn more about. So this is more of a informational items that you all want to see brought forward. So to make it more easier to understand and also provide more of that transparency from the city. So if there are specific sections from the Historic Resources Preservation Code, I'd be happy to bring that up and go over it with you all. So these future agenda items, it's more open for you all to let me know what you all want to see in the future. And you all make that determination to see what to add on to those future agenda items. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Commissioner Magalana?
I'd like to have a presentation or information about training resources outside the city, like conferences,
League of
online.
Cities stuff.
What's that?
League of Cities.
League of Cities, that sort of thing. The historic resources listing, you and I spoke about that, and I just don't think there's a very good understanding of what that means for homeowners, for residents, for business owners, and I'd love to get a presentation from the contracted historic architecture firm, and to understand what the fee structures are and, you know, why and what we're doing there. Let's see. I believe there are state and or federal programs that are out there that may help us with funding for preservation, and then, so I'd like to have a conversation about that. There's a process was described to me at one point about taking over the facades, like basically the owners would cede ownership of the facades of historic buildings for maintenance by the city or a historic resource group. And that would make it a lot more affordable for the property owners. That would be an example of something that I'd like to see us talk about. I think the tree removal permit could arguably be something we should discuss at the Historic Resources Board. Certainly the Planning Commission, but perhaps the state park, for instance, right now, and the lot right here is cutting down a bunch of really old trees, and it's been expressed to me by a couple of people concerns about that. And I know that the park's probably a separate, a very specialized circumstance, but I know in my experience, I cut down 5 trees on a lot that my wife and I own, and that process was just didn't make a lot of sense to me. If they're in the context of the setting, historic setting, I think it would be a worthwhile conversation. Okay. Oh, and then CEQA, where CEQA overlaps with all this stuff in the historic resource.
We got the presentation on training resources for League of Cities, historic resources listing and properties for properties here in the city of San Juan Bautista, presentation from Rincon in regards to their services, their fee structure, et cetera. Grant funding opportunities such as the facade improvements, the tree removal permit in regards to the historic settings, and also the CEQA overview and overlap with historic resources.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Commissioner Martirana, and I'm going to bring it back to Commissioner DeVries. He would like to add.
That's gonna be fun.
Yes, through the chair, I wanted to just tag on to a couple of really good things that I thought Chris brought up. First, the whole topic of Rincon. The way that I see it is that we now have at our disposal a pretty considerable firm to accomplish some neat things. I would really appreciate it if, let's say, you and Ashley could kind of huddle and figure out how can we use them. You know, this might have something to do with their scope of services and their contract, but how can we best leverage the formidable resources that firm brings to bear? Because they have a deep bench, let's say, and I think we can do some great things. We just need to know how to use it. And I'm sure you and Ashley can come up with some really good ideas on how to do it. And then just from as a practical matter, how can we accomplish that? And I think Chris brought up some points about cost always, you know, that there's only so much money on the meter. We don't want to spend all the money on one trip.
Yep.
But maybe we want to be judicious then in how we use them. What are some of the strategies going to be involved with getting full utilization of their Rincon firm? Is that okay add on there, Chris? And then historic trees. Chris also mentioned the tree cutting in the state park, and he kind of was a little bit deferential. Well, I know it's the state park and they kind of do their own thing, and that's been true. But what has also been true is a lot of displeasure expressed by members of the community, to me as well, about what is going on over there. And apparently, San Juan is never a day that goes by without a bunch of rumors. There's one state park person and she's just crazy. She's cutting everything down, and what kind of oversight is placed on her? And is something, are things occurring that maybe need a little oversight and need do we have an opportunity to weigh in on that? Because I know it's the state park, but it's in our city. And I know we have a very mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship with the state park that should afford us some ability or some opportunity to at least know what's going on, or provide guidelines, or if they have guidelines, please share them with us. When do you decide to cut down a 200-year-old pepper tree, for example, just as a hypothetical, because that happened.
Yeah.
And I think we need to understand that a little bit better, and because those trees are historic. And I don't know if you guys know this, but at your home, if you have a very old, beautiful, mature tree, that can be form the basis of a claim on your homeowner's policy if it goes down. Trees add value, not just to a private residence, but to a community. So we do care about them, because they can change the landscape quite a bit if they're removed wrongfully or improperly. So I guess that's also my way of saying I agree with you, Chris, 100% on that topic. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Speak.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bretnall, back to you.
Thank you. Chris, back to what you were mentioning, or excuse me, Commissioner Mortrana. I took a little bit of my time and started looking up grant opportunities, and there are at least half a dozen that I think we as a committee should look at and actively go after. There are a variety of different ways that we can attack this in a positive way and generate revenues or monies to come in to help us preserve and improve our historic downtown district. So I hope that's okay.
Back to you.
Can I just make a wild suggestion? I mean,
Go ahead.
why not?
Go
I mean,
ahead.
doing this, you
Mhm.
got to be bold sometimes.
Mhm.
I would like us to consider as a board appointing Elise as the grant czar.
God.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. There's method to that crazy suggestion. Grants are a pain in the butt. They require a learning curve to know what you're doing effectively, to have any amount of efficacy at grant writing and grant procuring. You got to know what you're doing. Would you agree with me on that, Ashley? There are people who hold themselves out as professional grant writers and procurers, correct? For a reason, right? Because it's an undertaking. And then lastly, number 3, it's my understanding that Elise has done it successfully, knows how to do it. And if she's willing to apply her skill, time, energy, and effort towards making our community better through these grants, why don't we just let her kind of run with that topic? And, she could report back to the board and everything else, but she would be kind of, huh?
Sounds like it's on the list for the future agenda.
I was going to say, so we'll make
I
that
would-
as part of the
Can
future
it go-
agenda.
Can I go on the list when I'm done talking and for the future agenda?
Sure.
So why not take advantage of that? Oh, you even being serious right now?
Are we finished, Commissioner?
Yes, apparently. Sorry.
No. I just wanted to make,
It is, it's fantastic.
no, we agreed that it's an idea that can be placed on the future agenda is what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
That's
and
something that we
thank
can
you
look
for
into.
the introduction of the idea and giving the background that of Elise, because I believe that's very correct. Okay, so yes, Commissioner. No, Yeah, it's a comment
the
and
agenda
question.
Item is future agenda items.
Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
wanna have
Yeah, so
something you wanna
future-
add
no,
to the
I-
agenda, or-
No, I would just say, I'll be quick and brief.
Sure.
Thank you, Dan. I'd be happy to put my time and talent as much as I can afford to do so to this. But with that being said, I'm not one to wait. And I think that there is so much to do here that we need to start moving forward. And one of them one of the grants that I found is actually a state grant where we actually get money to reduce taxes for those landlords that are that own, so that we can give them, they can then afford to go make these improvements. And that is definitely something that I would like to bring up and potentially get the ball rolling on so that we can get it in front of the city council and get it approved so that we can start making those improvements.
Phenomenal.
Okay, so because this
If
is.
I have your permission, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. Chairman, if I have your permission, I would like to move forward with that and bring the information to you.
Yeah,
No, no, I'm not going to, but I just consensus general, if okay, then I'll continue moving forward and bring it to staff and then they can do what they need to. Cool?
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we,
If I may, I just have one question.
okay,
And that's, and no, and I promise you, this is on sticking to the agenda. So, as I bring myself up to speed and I, gain knowledge and I understand what exactly is that we are going to move forward with, obviously harmoniously, we want to move forward with making our community better. But I just want to, elaborate. Maybe I don't have anything to bring right now as far as future agendas, but my question is, can we always go back to this topic?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
It
so-
it is being placed on future agenda and I believe it is a consensus of the committee to move forward on that. So, okay.
Yes,
We're good with that?
correct.
Okay, so my turn on questions and comments regarding future agenda items. Ilse, we did have a discussion about the status of the projects that we had done in 2024. So I want to make sure that that review is there because I don't want to leave anything unfinished from last year so that we have a consistency and a follow-up. Okay.
Yes.
And then clarification on future agenda. Do we still have, and Liz, this may be for you, do we still have the consultant that, with the historic board? Is she still?
Oh.
Nicholas? Okay, that's all done. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what Rincon, okay,
Yeah.
all right. So that is all I have, and because this is a no action item, is there anyone else that has any comments or questions? And I believe public comment as well. Anything?
Nobody in chambers and no hands raised, Madam Chair.
Okay, so, almost done here. We're on item 6, comments, Historic Resources Board member. Anything that you would like to comment on, make note, from today, tonight? Yep, we're going to start with Commissioner Sanchez. Anything, sir?
No, I do not, other than it's been a pleasure and thank you guys. Thank you all.
Commissioner DeVries?
Yeah, just quickly as an add-on to May Clovis and Rincon, I think it was the sincere hope of Don before he left. I know it's the sincere hope of the Historic Society that there be some kind of overlap connectivity between Meg and Rincon so that they can take advantage of her, what we refer to as institutional knowledge. She knows a lot of the property. She knows the players. She knows the dynamic. Therefore, Rincon, if they're going to kind of pick up some things where she left off, how can we get them together? I've talked with Meg about that concept myself, and she's totally amenable to serving or fulfilling that however she can. I just think it's going to take some coordination, maybe by you, Ilse or Ashley. But I think that would benefit the whole process a lot. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bettman.
Thank you. I'd like to bring up a couple of different ideas. The first one just flew my head. I apologize. But the second one, just in passing and leisurely conversation, there have been some ideas thrown out about this organization going on some field trips. And I would very much like to hear more about that while we're here. And I would also like to potentially schedule a trip so that we can, again, get the ball rolling. That's planning that does that, even though it's historic? No. Okay. Never mind.
So what kind of trips are you referring to, just to make sure that I
Well,
capture it correctly?
We'd love to take some trips. I know I would love to do this and was planning on doing it to some other historical towns that are similar to ours. within the state of California. One town that I think would be fantastic is a little bit more modern is the town of Winters, California. They've really taken an area that, I think they've got 5,000 people living there, residents. And they've really taken that town and taken it to a whole new level as far as activities and events and what it looks like, and exploiting that historic aspect to their benefit and utilizing Napa and, the whole wine thing. And I just think they've done a beautiful job, and they have a beautiful hotel that I love to stay at. And it's just positive. I've heard, there are other towns. Dan, you mentioned Columbia, I think, in passing, and there's also Nevada City, Grass Valley, Murphy. There's a number that I think we can go look at and talk to the people who have helped revitalize those towns. Because I'm a big player I'm a big believer in, we don't have a tremendous amount of money to spend on consultants. And you've got some very, very smart people in this room and in this town, and you might as well utilize them, especially if they're willing to give their time and talent for free.
Thank you.
Yes,
Commissioner
thank
Marzano?
I have nothing to add.
Nothing to add. Okay. The only addition that I would like to make is that we connect with the Historical Society of San Juan Bautista, because they have a lot to say and a lot to offer. And it's been run with, operated by residents who were born, raised, lived, and stayed here. So they do know, and they have a wealth of knowledge that they can offer. So for us, whether we're new or have been here a while, we can certainly learn something from them. And I know that they've come to present at our meetings, and they've encouraged us to have that connection, that link with them, as well as, the other organizations and associations. You were talking about League of City, right?
California League of Cities.
California League of Cities. So anyway, that's where I'm going with that. So unless anyone else has a comment, Associate Planner, we're going to turn it over to you for comments.
I do.
Do you have
I am so sorry.
No,
Yes,
don't
I
be
have one
sorry.
more
That-
question.
Okay, the one thing that I will say is, as far as our committee goes, there's no sorry, because we do want to hear, ideas and so on. So the time is turned over to you.
Okay, so then my next question would be, when can we get the Historic Society in here to actually talk to us? Or can we set up, when can they come to this meeting and do a presentation and give us information? Because I think the sooner we get it, the better off we're gonna be.
Future agenda.
Can I answer that?
Yes.
You can have Vanda, Kara, or Georgiana come anytime you'd like, or anytime we would like. I think it's more a matter of us deciding, let's hear from them quarterly or whatever level of frequency. Another thing I did last year as HRB chair was attend their meetings. And I would sit in Georgiana's living room, dining room thing around the table, and there'd be 8 ladies there. And it's fascinating. You talk about a resource. And what you spoke about, Ida, about they're born and raised and they have this knowledge, that goes back for generations. The Historic Society's been around for a long, long time. And you want to talk about the National Archives for San Juan? It's all
I was going to say, has
it's in
anyone
their-
been over there?
oh, it's unbelievable.
That-
Photographs, documents, all kinds of stuff. So they could really help us with conversations about design and what you did this and what about that and that house that we did on the other side of the highway.
Right.
What do you think about that bungalow thing that the guy put rocks all over? And how do you feel about that? In other words, we need to have more interaction with the Historic Society, in my opinion. So I completely agree with you and applaud you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Okay, so more?
Thank you, thank you. All your feedback and input is really appreciated, and it will help guide our board meetings moving forward. And you can all add items. I'll put this as an ongoing item on the agenda. That way, in case anything comes up, we can add it and we can choose how to proceed from there. In regards to the Historical Society, we are actually meeting with them next week. So we'll ask and see if they can maybe attend our next meeting and just introduce themselves and a little bit of background. That way we're all familiar with the Historical Society and
Maybe a little presentation?
yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Perfect.
Okay, are we good?
So before I guess we close this off, is there anything, top two items that you all want to see at the next board meeting that we just discussed?
The review of 2024.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I spoke out of turn. Commissioner Sanchez.
Say review 2024.
Yes. I think a review of 2024 would be amazing, phenomenal. As well as, I am really looking forward to, our partnering with not only the Historic Society, but also understanding what the listings we have out there. So people like me who are new can fully grasp the magnitude of what exactly it is that we are doing here.
Hi, thank you. Commissioner DeVries? Anything?
No, nothing further.
Nothing further, Commissioner Beck? No.
Nothing for me, thank you.
And Commissioner Martorana?
So you asked say the top two, I would say what you have listed here, the historic research design review permit process and sequel would be my top two.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, I'm going to turn the time over to City Manager Colick.
Thank you. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say hello to you all and welcome and introduce myself, Ashley Colick. I'm your interim city manager for San Juan Bautista. I am brand new. This is the start of my second month, so take it easy on me. But I am learning. I have had an opportunity to meet with the Rotary, had an opportunity to meet with Spirit of San Juan Bautista. So I'm getting around, getting to know everyone. So don't be shy if you need me. You know where I'm at City Hall. And we are going to meet with the Historical Society. So really excited to learn the community and to help where I can.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. If there is nothing else, the next regular Historic Resources Board meeting is is scheduled for Tuesday, March 5th, 2025. And, oh, yes. Oh, it says 5th here, but okay, 4th it is, March 4th, correction.
March 4th, yes.
It is March 4th, okay. Yes, that's why you have the calendar. So it is, Liz, I can't see, I have my glasses on. 6:41, this meeting is adjourned.
Actually, don't we have to move to adjourn?
No, because it's a special meeting with no action.
Oh, okay. I'm just asking, I don't.
No. Yes, okay.
Okay.
6:42, adjourn.
Dang.
Okay,
There's one.
yep, there's one. You want to take first, or you want to just roll? Let's roll.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. I think everybody's ready to go. Is that okay?
Who's ever responsible for having the snacks in Chambers deserves a raise.
Awesome.
Wow.
Wow.
Did you do that? Do we have snacks?
That's very nice of you.
What is it?
Right?
Where's the
Fine.
wine?
Oh.
It looks
What's
like,
what?
it looks like a mini bar to Sheraton
It does look like a little mini bar, doesn't it?
without the booze.
Okay. So is everyone okay? We're gonna start with the planning. Yeah?
Go for it.
We're not on.
Or vice chair, so you continue the.
Yes. Okay, so. It is now 6:42. I would like to call the regular planning commission meeting of Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 to order. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner DeVries, if you would.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bretnell, Commissioner DeBreeze,
Here.
Commissioner Martirana,
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Present.
and Chair Pasano.
Here. Moving right along, action, election of a chair. We are appointing a commission chair for 1-year term. We will take nominations for chair for a 1-year term. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners? Nope.
I would
ahead.
like to nominate Dan DeVries.
Second.
I also would like to nominate Commissioner DeVries.
There's been a second, right?
Yeah.
So,
You
with a,
accept Commissioner DeBreeze?
I do, thank you.
okay.
Okay,
It's a
He
humbling.
said humbly.
Humbly.
Okay,
Truly.
with a
truly.
motion from Commissioner Brent Knoll and a second from Commissioner Martirana to appoint Commissioner DeVries as Commission Chair for a one-year term. City Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Britnell,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBreeze,
Yes.
Commissioner Martirana,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
and Chair Pisano.
Maybe, yes, yes.
It is all, what's it?
Okay, so
I
we're
get to switch
switching.
again.
Switch.
Stops, everybody has to have a chair.
Yes. Right, there you go. We're acting like we're senior citizens the way we're moving.
I am. I get a discount at Denny's now.
I'm getting Medicare this year.
Is the mini fridge over there?
Oh, thank you. Horse teeth. Okay,
All right, well,
and all microphones are on.
thank you, very much, you guys. It is gonna be a great, great year, and it's truly an honor to serve in this role for a year, so I'm looking forward to working with each one of you, individually and collectively, and with Ilse and Ashley. Liz can't get rid of me, so that will continue. She's like the #1 draft pick, by the way. God was shining on us when he brought us Liz. Okay, so now let's do the election of the vice chair. Any nominations?
I nominate Commissioner Martirana for vice chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion in a second. Chris, how do you feel about that? Travis, go ahead.
Yeah, I've expressed my reservations about it. I think I will decline. I'm sorry, but for this year, I think I need to. I just don't want to be in a position to let you guys down because I have a very extensive travel calendar for work, and just accommodating the meetings in the first place is going to be potentially a challenge. So
It's brutal. He has to go to Florida like every other day. So much so that he was actually considering not getting on the planning commission. I had to talk him off the ledge and say, no, it's all right. You can zoom in from Fort Lauderdale. Whatever you're able to do is better than not doing it at all. So we're glad that you're here. But
thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for
And I appreciate the nomination very much and the faith. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Is there another idea for a nomination from you?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Sanchez. I know that he is new along with myself, but I think it would be a fantastic opportunity for him to learn the rules, Robert's Rules of Order and everything that goes along with it, as well as what we're doing here at the Planning Commission.
Second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Eddie, how you feel about that?
Accept.
All right.
All right.
Simplify.
Okay, calling the question. Commissioner Britnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Martirana,
Aye.
Commissioner Pisano,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Aye.
and Chair DeBreeze.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Excellent. Okay. Each month, as you know, we set aside time to hear from the public on items which will not otherwise be discussed on the agenda. No one's in favor. Anybody with their hand raised? Liz?
No hands raised on Zoom, Chair.
Public comments closed. Which means we turn to consent agenda, which consists of the affidavit of posting and the minutes from December 3rd, 2024. But let's see how will that work, Liz Soto, city clerk to the stars, because only 2 of us were here on said minutes.
And,
which is not a quorum.
Our minutes are being tabled, so it's not an issue this meeting.
What?
Our minutes are being tabled for the next meeting. So the only thing we're approving is the affidavit of posting.
Okay.
So we're tabling the minutes to the next meeting.
But in March, it's gonna be the same question. Who can vote on minutes?
You
at
can,
the
you
current
can
meeting,
vote,
right?
you
Within
can
the-
vote on them. Yeah,
at the
you can.
meeting?
No, yeah, you can still vote on them.
Okay, then, so.
So new government code.
So then it's just consent A, the affidavit posting. Is there a motion to approve that?
Motion, to-
Approve
second.
the consent agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Mayrana, second by Commissioner Pisano. All, can I do just all in favor? I need a roll call for that.
I think she has to do a roll call. I know.
I know it's
Not a-
tedious, but. Sorry.
But, okay.
Thank you, Commissioner or Chair DeVries.
Commissioner
We appreciate it.
Brittenell,
Aye.
Commissioner Martirana,
Aye.
Commissioner Pisano,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez, and and Chair DeBreeze.
Okay, next, the 2025 planning calendar. Let's say,
Thank you. So similar to the last or the HRB, we do have the 2025 PC calendar. Similar to HRB, on January 7th, that meeting was canceled as there was no quorum, and instead we had a city council meeting to appoint the commissioners. So if there are any dates that are listed on the 2025 PC calendar that might be a conflict for anyone or for the community, this is the time to discuss those dates and we can go over that.
I'm just looking at April. When is Easter this year? Because people might,
Second half, April, I believe.
is it the second half?
yeah.
I believe it is.
I'm not gonna
I
be here.
thought it was the beginning of April.
No, it's
No, not this year?
Not sure.
Okay,
20th.
all right, my error.
Easter falls on.
Ona Pasqua.
What?
Ona Pasqua.
Sometime in time.
I'm gonna be in Italy for.
Mm-hmm.
Second half.
And yes, I'll see you. I'll meet you in Paris.
All right. Okay.
All right, so therefore, why were you asking that? Because of the April's calendar?
I was just thinking that it was Easter time, yes, April.
But
2 weeks after council will be the, after the council, so, all right. Any other questions about the 2025 planning calendar from anyone?
No, sir.
It's a little bit already, okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say on that, let's say?
no, that's it. Thank you.
Outgoing and upcoming project tasks. Ilse, did you also want to use this opportunity to talk about your flow chart, which is
Oh, yeah, we do
Might
have
be
a
worth it, but-
presentation. Yeah, so
oh, you
Liz,
see that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll pull it up on the screen here. Thank you.
Sure.
So for item 5B, Planning Department ongoing and upcoming projects and tasks, I did want to take this opportunity to let you all know a little bit of what the Planning Department team is doing, what we do and who it consists of. So next slide, please. Thank you. So the planning department team is made up of Erica Frazier, who is our planning director, who is consulted by Four Leaf, and myself. I'm your associate planner. I'm here full time, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if anybody has any questions, there's somebody always here from the planning department to help answer those questions. Next question, no, sorry, next slide, please. So what does the planning department do? To make it easier for all of us to understand, the planning department has technically 3 buckets. We have current planning, advanced planning, and we recently had the special event permit process transition from recreation to the planning department. So the planning department is now processing those permits. But in regards to planning commission, we're not going to be touching upon those special event permits. But I just wanted to give you all a heads up of, this is what the planning department does. Next slide, please. So if we look here under current planning, we do have several different branches that come up from it. Under current planning, we also manage the boards and commissions. So that includes the Historic Resources Board and Planning Commission. In addition to that, we also do standard operating procedures such as updating and maintaining forms and applications. We're trying to clean up and streamline the processes that we currently have, and also clean up and maintain some of the record keeping. And part of that also ties in with public records requests. Those public records requests that come in, we do have to search for those files in the drive and in our paper documents. So that takes up a little bit of time as well, since we do have to do some digging there for the paper trails. In addition to standard operating procedures, we also have historic preservation. This includes checking the status of the homes for historic preservation. So this includes the homes that are listed as historic through the different surveys that have been done, and also through the state. And in addition to that, the planning department is also managing the Rincon Consultants contract. And in addition to historic preservation, part of the current planning is also permit processing. So that includes the building permits requiring a planning review. So if a building permit comes in and it requires a planning department review, just to make sure that the planning department can sign off of it, planning department reviews those permits. We also do the site design review permits. That includes the major projects and minor projects, and also the historic design review permits for major and minor projects. And finally, the other branch is front counter duties. So that includes the general calls and general emails that come in. So if anybody comes into City Hall, gives us a call, sends us an email, if they have a general question, we're here to help answer those questions and provide responses within a timely manner. So that itself is a broad overview of current planning in that bucket. Next slide, please. So here we have advanced planning. So advanced planning also has several different branches, and it includes historic preservation, in which we will be doing outreach and engagement efforts to help the community know if their home is considered historic, and help bring more awareness of the historic properties here in the community, and what steps that they need to take if they want to do any modifications, alterations to their homes. In addition to historic preservation, we're also tasked with economic revitalization, the city fee schedule update. So that one is also a heads up for the community. We are looking to update our fee schedule here for the city. It's been quite a few years since the fees were last updated, and that is also coming in. So that is another thing that the planning department is managing. We also have the 3rd Street Master Plan, the general plan amendment, infill development for the urban growth boundary, zoning code amendments, which there are quite a few codes that are outdated that need to be revised. And some of these include historic preservation, accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs or granny flats, mobile food vending, sign ordinance, fences, fire hazard severity zones, and wireless communication facilities. in addition to zoning code amendments, we have the housing element update that we are doing. That is a state requirement. So as of now, I believe the housing element is going through review from the state. But in addition to the housing element update, we also manage grants such as the Permanent Local Housing Assistant Funds and the Regional Early Access Planning Grant. So that's an overview of advanced planning. And then can we do next slide, please? And for special event permits, just to give you all some a little bit of background and information and transparency here of what the planning department is doing with special event permits. We're updating and maintaining application forms. We are doing the issuance of permits. So that includes intake and routing, reviewing and processing permits, and issuing the permit. And in addition to that, we are also working on updating the code because it is also a little bit outdated. So that is also something to look out for. That is going to be happening here within the community. So that's just a little heads up there. Next slide, please. So overall, this slide just shows a brief overview of all the many things, many hats that the planning department does. And it's just me and Erica for the most part. So that's just a little context. Next slide, please. So just an overview of 2024 for the HRB and PC. I went back and looked at the items that were discussed in 2024 and things that were reviewed and approved and proclamations. And from looking at 2024, the board and commission reviewed and approved a historic report and approved minor site design review for 609 3rd Street for a studio addition and conversion, as well as the city certified local government annual report, entitlements for the gas station at 404, 408 the Alameda, and the major historic resource design review for 411 the Alameda. There was a proclamation for the National Preservation Month in May of 2024, and we discussed, or the Board and Planning Commission discussed, 404, 408 San Juan Hollister Road project, an update and status of the Historic Resources Preservation Code, an informal project review on the Ambrosio Vista Project Phase 2, preliminary draft zoning ordinance amendments to zoning, Ordinance Chapter 11-04, temporary use of land, and adding Chapter 11-19 to address food trucks. Also, the draft housing element and fair housing analysis, sign regulations in the city, golf cart neighborhood electric vehicle plan, and an amendment to Municipal Code Chapter 11-16 mobile food truck vending ordinance. Next slide, please. And that is the end of item 5B.
I have a couple questions about, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ilse. That was a great report. Yeah, I'm sure that few of us might have questions, so at least want to start with you.
Thank you, Chairperson. DeVries.
Chairman, sorry.
Chairman, okay. Ilse, I was hoping you could go back to the breakdown on, I think it was the second slide in that plethora of what you guys do. I had a couple of questions about what they were item-wise. Can we go back to the, yeah, thank you.
The advanced planning?
Yes, it was under advanced planning. There you go. My first question, under grant management, you have Regional Early Access REAP Planning Grant. I think that whole name is kind of funny. So when you think about it, but what is that actually? Can you give us a little bit more about that, as well as the PLHA funds? and what that actually brings in and how can we utilize it even more potentially?
Yeah, so these are grant funds that were provided by the state. They have been ongoing funds that were applied for and awarded. I can come back to the next meeting and provide more of a detailed information on both of those, but the PLHA funds are from HCD, which is the California Housing and Community Development Department. So those funds were awarded, and I can provide more information there. And also the REAP planning grant. I can provide more information with that as well.
Yeah, and I would love to know how long the grants are for and if or when they terminate.
Yes,
Thank you.
sounds good.
And then there was one other question under general plan amendment.
Mhm.
I know that I was unfamiliar with what infill development was. I was hoping you could elaborate a little bit on that. Thank you.
So for the infill amendment, infill development, so the city recently passed the urban growth boundary, so they are going to be reducing their sphere of influence from the existing one that covers some land in the county. It's gonna be reduced essentially to the existing city boundary lines to essentially contain growth within the city lines. So what this general plan amendment infill development is that we are gonna be updating our general plan to address how we will be addressing housing and all the other issues in the general plan, like transportation, circulation, in regards to infill, since our sphere was larger before, we had more properties to work with. But with the infill development, we need to address how we're going to be addressing that. And I think Chris was part of the urban growth boundary. Might
Yeah, and I'm
Oh,
not certain.
perfect. So they might also be able to provide a little bit more context on the urban growth boundary and a little bit of history there. Yeah, no problem.
Wanna talk about that? Infill, she was asking specifically about infill development,
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah, so stated simply, a city can grow out or it can stay constrained, more constrained. The former sometimes is referred to as urban sprawl. Think of West Gilroy, towards Santa Teresa. Community through the urban growth boundary and the committee, GB committee and the city council decided, no, we want to constrain that a little bit. So now Sacramento says, we talked about this a little ago, you guys have to provide your fair share of housing for the region. And they give us a number of units. We want to see where you can do it. Well, we can't go out. We can't go to the other side of the highway or onto the farm fields. Where can we go? Well, what opportunities exist within city limits for additional units, vacant lots, this, that, the other thing? It takes a little bit of analysis to figure that out in a meaningful way. The city previously retained a firm in Monterey called EMC, led by a guy named Michael Groves. And when the UGB committee was going through its process, culminating in the council adopting the growth boundary and that reduced sphere that Ilse mentioned, it kind of had EMC and Groves change course and say, okay, well, now that we're not going to be planning a new San Juan, they were calling it, on the other side of the highway, how can we meet our housing needs going forward? What opportunities are there within the city? And they created actually a report that I think we'll be seeing in the near future that answers some of these questions. And so if we said, okay, well, you can't build out, but you can build within, how much can you do? I don't know. Chris doesn't know. Definitively, we think it's pretty good, maybe 160 units, 150, or that's just kind of guesswork. These guys have looked at it pretty carefully. But it's a really interesting conversation, and that's what infill means.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense now?
It does, and I think it's important to understand that.
Very.
Given what we are going to be doing here.
Very important.
Thank you
Absolutely.
very
Yeah.
much.
No, good job.
Yeah, and it's important because the general plan essentially helps lay out the vision and the blueprint for the city in the coming years. So without the general plan, we can't really plan ahead. So general plan is really important to what happens in the future. So it's very good to be aware of what's happening there. But thank you.
Yeah, and just to tag onto that, that's where all of those things will live, is in the
Mhm.
general plan.
Yep.
Some people call the general plan a constitution of your town, or the blueprint for your community, or kind of, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, it looks into the future, 20 years, 15 years, whatever. It answers those questions in a pretty neat way that are specific. So, all right, other questions? Chris, anything?
Yeah, can we go to slide 11, please? This is number 8.
The overview.
Yeah. I'm sorry, bear with me for just a moment. I want to look at it for a second. There was a question. Oh, the third item under discussed, informal project review on D'Ambrosio Vista project. Where is that located?
Underneath
It's the
that.
third,
Below the sewer plant?
yeah, the
Oh.
third street, that
Why-
open
Why
field,
phase
That's the old
2?
school.
below the cemetery.
I gotcha. Why is it called phase 2? Any idea? Because I mean, they've never done anything there.
Right, that's a good question.
Oh, okay. I was
And
just
don't think it's
curious.
called the Ambrosia anymore either.
No,
Okay.
it's a
Were
new,
you there when those guys from Santa Monica? Were you here?
not in Santa Monica, but it was the D'Ambrosio Vista project, but then
Yeah.
it's changed ownership. And phase
Gotcha.
2 is because it was, I believe it was the second time that they had come to present
Oh.
information.
Oh, okay.
So
Thank- I
phase
just-
2, and that was at the time when they brought those 3-story
Right.
structures that they thought they wanted to build.
It's like, I didn't like that.
Mhm.
Okay.
I thought they look pretty neat. They're pretty modern. They look like they could fit right in Santa Monica.
Okay, Santa Monica, San Juan, San Juan,
Venice Beach, Santa Monica.
that's what that is.
And then the major historic resource design review for 411 the Alameda. And is that across the highway, on this side of the highway? Where is
No,
that?
it's across
On the other side?
on the other side. That's
Okay.
that little house, the single
okay.
story where they
Okay.
um
Great.
and defied and violated all the rules.
Gotcha. Okay. That was all I had. Thank you.
Item.
I think the same, I just wanted, okay, so on what we discussed last year, I'd like to know what the follow-up, so future agenda is, maybe you can take it one by one where we're at on it. Because I know that with regards to permits, there are expiration dates. And some of the ones that presented before us last year was because their permit had expired, right? So I want to know, pretty much what Commissioner Brentnall said is, where are the dates that we're looking at? Because we should be timely too, prompt and timely in our responses to them and in our action, because one of the major items here that I'm looking at is what is happening with the gas station. They've come, they were passionate about their project, it looked good. We did a lot of work on that. They came back to us, 2-3 times with the design, and then, boop, nothing. Where are we on that? So status of major projects such as that will affect the community. I think that as far as future agenda items, that maybe one of the ones that we should do sooner than later.
Yes. Thank you. Adding that one to our future agenda items, which is
Oh,
our next item.
Apologies, my
It's okay.
apologies. Okay,
No worries. Thank you.
got ahead.
It's always good to follow up on these things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Eddie, what you got?
Well, I just wanted a bit of a confirmation here. So I know that, you're tirelessly working on continual improvement with your process and your workflow. But, in the spirit of self-education, is it safe to say that, this workflow is outlined in our master plan, our
which,
general plan.
If
So,
what we're
as far
doing-
as every, and I'm starting from the top all the way down, through every sector that we were reviewing on the slide. Basically, it's, again, it's for self-education on my end, so I can be a better asset to everyone in this room, is where can I learn more about, again, I understand that we're gonna move forward with continual improvement, but just looking at, okay, the current flow now.
So that's not technically within the general plan. The general plan is more of a document, as we mentioned, like it's a blueprint for the community. So it talks about transportation, streets, infrastructure projects, stormwater, water,
Right.
the wells. So that's not necessarily within the general plan. So
Okay,
What-
so
what's-
let me rephrase it. So
Okay.
yes, I'm digging through the general plan right now. I'm
Okay.
probably, I don't know, a good quarter of the way through.
Mhm.
I'm just, the reason why I'm asking is because I haven't seen this there yet.
You
Uh-huh.
will.
Okay.
You won't.
yeah,
So,
no, because that's more, I'll let. her- Yes. Oh,
Absolutely.
Through the chair. Great question, Commissioner Sanchez. What Ilse was presenting was the internal city process for planning. So like what you're looking at there is what happens when people come in and say, I need a permit and I want to update my house. And then she has to decide, oh, okay, wait, is it historic? Okay, because if it's historic, it's got to go through that one bucket of processes, right? So what she presented tonight was like, just so that the commission is aware of the process internally. The general plan and all, the master plan and all those things, those are external documents that show you what we hope the future will look like in terms of the general plan. Does that help?
yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so the all of those spreadsheets that she showed you, that is all about what happens internally in the city. And what is outstanding about that is that there's only 2 people in our planning department for all of those actions in coordinating everything that happens there. And in comparison to other places, that is unheard of. There's usually, a good 12 people that do those things in other cities.
Basically the infrastructure
Right.
of the
Thank-
department.
Thank you for the peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
How
no
sausage is
problem.
made.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
How sausage-
that's a really great question that you did bring up too, because a lot of people have that same question of, well, what is the planning department doing, or where can I find that information? It is an internal process, but hopefully I helped clarify some of what we do. But if there's anything that's unclear, feel free to let me know and we can bring it back.
The only thing I'd add is that you can think of the general plan as more of a philosophical document. Talks about goals and objectives, and we want to be about preserving history. Doesn't that sound great? Yeah, let's all preserve history. Well, how are we going to accomplish that? And Ilse's flow chart, if you want to call it that, having been around here for a little while, I can tell you it's the first time anyone that I've seen has diagrammed that. Because in the past, it's always been, well, you guys just do all that stuff. Who you got back there? Oh, you and you. Okay, just do whatever. But it's never been really organized in a way that makes sense like that. That's all this stuff that they do, and that has been done. But that's, I think, in a visual showing you how you've broken it up. And that makes a lot of sense. It did, and you're right. It does tell the tale of all that you have to do. You should have a different hat for each thing, each department. Wait, hold on. I go change my hat. Okay, any other questions? I don't think I had any of those slides. I probably do, but I'm forgetting. Now then, therefore, and Liz, if you see any hands raised as we're going along, let me know. I don't see any.
No hands raised, Chair.
We'll do public comment at the end of this 5 as a catch-all. Planning Department outgoing upcoming project tasks. Have you covered that already, Ilse?
That's what she just did.
Is that what we just did was B? All right. And future agenda items, how about that one?
That one's next.
That's next?
Yes.
Okay, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you. So for item 5C, future agenda items, it's the similar item from the HRB. These are items that from talking to you all that that should be brought up within the Planning Commission to further understand and get more transparency on it. So one of them has been the site and design review permit process for minor and major projects, code amendments, CEQA basics, and the status of major projects. But if I wanted to open it up to you all for any agenda items that you all want to see for the Planning Commission. So that includes all of planning and the wonderful world of it.
I've said my piece.
Turn the chart.
Yeah.
That wonderful world that's now been depicted.
Oh,
visually.
yes.
Ilse, I've been taking my dogs for a walk, and as I've been walking through town, and maybe you guys have noticed this too, we have a wide variety of lighting in this town. And I would very much like to take a look at the ordinance in regards to lighting, street lighting, and come up with some sort of agreement on what we expect throughout the entire city of San Juan Bautista. I think, you know, I live in Creek Bridge and we've got these green lights that look pretty and they look similar to the ones in downtown, but they're not quite like the ones in downtown. And then Vista Ranch, is that it? Rancho Vista, excuse me. They have yet again different lights, and then along First Street, we have different lights there. And I just think for congruity and ease when it comes to building or changing something, we should really streamline that and have one light design that we go with. And you know, I have my own opinions on that, but I think it's something that we should definitely look at.
Thank you. So I do just want to clarify for street lighting, if it's in the public right of way, that pertains to public works and engineering. So unfortunately, with planning, we won't be able to touch on that subject, but I would encourage you to bring it up to city council.
Okay.
Since they can make that determination and have staff look more into it, since that's out of my purview, unfortunately. But I did want to say that the city does have a dark sky ordinance that should be checked when new buildings come in or new permits come in, new infrastructure comes in. We do have that in place. So that's something that I can bring up and let you all know about, since when I am reviewing projects, that's something that I look at.
And that, I wasn't talking about, you know, replacing what we already have. I was looking at it more from moving forward, a moving forward perspective. And let's say, for example, you know, if we have, you know, another permit come before us from a builder, let's say, for example, the condos, you know, their permit expired and they have to come back and ask again. I want to make sure that we include that, and maybe that isn't us,
Okay.
but I would consider
Yes.
that part of planning to
Okay.
make sure that we cover that with
Yes.
the permit and that they know that they are required to adhere to these standards.
Yes.
Thank you.
perfect. Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem. Thank you.
If
We
I
do
can-
have
if I can
regulations.
Translate a little bit to what I think Elise is saying, because she and I have talked about this. She's concerned only with aesthetics. She's not
Oh.
concerned with lumens and, you know, how
Okay.
candle power and all the stuff that Public Works and safety people
Oh,
get excited
okay.
about. She's talking about aesthetics.
Okay.
Yes.
What does it look
Uh-huh.
like? What is the design? And that's something that's
Okay.
100% within the purview of planning and the Historic Resources Board, especially if it's
Yes.
in the nationally registered district. And I was sharing with her quick story on lighting. She lives in Creek Bridge.
Mhm.
I was here in this room when we designed that whole project. Oh, Ida lives there too. And I told the developers I wanted them to copy the light standards on Third Street. I don't think it was a nationally registered historic district at the time. I just thought they were cool and they kind of fit. So they tried their best. But those light standards in Third Street, those are kind of special. And I was talking to Vanda Guevara, again, an example of how the Historic Society could be a huge benefit to our community. She knew all about this. And I guess those light poles were cast, right? And somebody had the mold for them. And she wondered whether the mold for them still existed and whether we could say to developer Jones, hey, just go call this number. He's got the mold. Tell him to make 6 more because we want him to look just like that. And wouldn't that be great? So I just throw that as an example as to what I think she's talking about.
And that is exactly what I meant. I understand that we do have a dark sky and I want to adhere to all of those rules. We also want to be very efficient with our energy use as well, but that doesn't mean it can't be pretty and historic.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification and as,
No, we appreciate you.
yeah.
And it did come up on the gas station. You know, those guys had plans and they wanted to put up some lights on Third Street, well, the part of the Alameda that they front, that they were gonna get from Home Depot. We're like, yeah, no, no, you gotta get good ones. What does good ones mean? Well, like the ones on Brennan
Yeah.
Daisy, those regular ones. But it'd be nicer if we had a standard,
Yes.
maybe even a picture of it, model number, whatever here.
Where you can
do
go
those.
get it. Yes,
But we'd all have to agree that this is the one.
correct.
Right.
And that's what I think she's referring to.
That is
So-
exactly.
And I think the Historic Society should play a big role in that conversation. Because
I
those ladies
agree.
know what they're talking about. They can look at pictures and stuff even, you know. In 1927, this is the kind they used. So it's good. All right, where are we on this? You, Ida, you got anything?
Just my comment that I got ahead of the agenda. So
No.
if you could make sure that that's taken care of
Yes,
and added, thank you.
no problem.
Eddie, anything on future agenda items?
No, I just want to continue to learn and, also if we can get current status updates of the previously discussed but not approved, action items.
Yes.
And just a reminder, Eddie, kind of something I whispered to you during the HRB. Ilse's question now about what would you like to see on the agenda in the future? It's not like this is the one time of the year where you get to any time that you think, it'd be kind of neat if the planning commission talked about XYZ. You can contact me, you can text me or contact Ilse and say what's on your mind, and then we'll see if there's a way to get that on an agenda. But that's ongoing all the time. Anytime you feel so moved, don't be shy. If you see something, say something. Anyone else on future agenda items? Oh, Chris, sorry.
I'd love to see, sorry. How about I think an ongoing agenda item I'd like to see is just current status of current open permits.
Yeah.
Because I know people know I've been appointed to the planning commission and I'm already getting questions about
What's going on?
stuff that's, there's a house around the corner from me that they converted a garage. Was that permitted? I have no idea. No, the last permit that I got, I posted on the front of my house, which I believe is the standard that's almost never done. And so that's one of those little things that would really help us to communicate with the community is making sure people are actually complying with things like that. But so a current open permit status, that'll reduce the number of phone calls you get, I'm sure. You have site and design review permit process. That's the carryover. Code amendments, I'll leave it at that. I have a laundry list of things I'd like to cover under that heading. But I think I wrote down one more. No, the current open permits. I think that probably, I'm sorry, affordable housing. I think that is a critically important subject for us to be addressing. And I think there's a lot of creative stuff going on out there and none of which is really been, looked at here, I don't think, other than potentially the ADUs. But even the ADUs in so many instances here have been used more as a dodge by the developers to, to get around actually providing affordable housing.
Mhm.
And so I think we need to figure out how to make sure whatever's being built is in fact being used as affordable housing, is in fact being made available to the community for housing rather than a guest suite in the backyard sort of thing. But I think that covers the thing.
Thank you.
Good
I-
points, Chris. Ida?
I do have one that I didn't see here under discussion that we need to put on the future agenda item. And that is, we had discussed as a planning committee that we need to help educate the public on the process. So I don't know how far along she got on that, but there was supposed to be not only a discussion, but a report regarding opening it up to the public to be aware of projects, permits, these types of things, and processes. Because as Chris mentioned, people are kind of just doing things quietly.
Yeah, San Juan is famous for doing it and then asking forgiveness. That's like modus operandi in this town historically.
So we need to bring up that education and public knowledge.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I, hopefully through these future agenda items, we can help educate the public on the process and get more knowledge out there. I also do like that it's being recorded, so if anybody has any questions on those items, they can always go back and look at the video, but I'm also available here to help answer any questions in case anybody has them. But I think a big part of this, as you mentioned, is going to put effort towards educating the public. That's essential. So thank you.
Okay, then, already then. If that's it on future agenda items, I have a couple things I wanted to hit on that may necessarily or likely involve a future agenda item for each. But we'll see how that goes. I was gonna do that at planning commissioner comments, which is next. So Eddie, Elise, Chris knows this, but each month at the end of the meeting, kind of like we do public comment for things that aren't on the agenda. At the end of the meeting is planning commissioner comments for things that we didn't talk about, we're not going to talk about. It's just whatever may be on your mind that is in a wonderful world of planning. So with that as a preface, are there any planning commissioner comments? Let's start with you, Eddie. Anything?
I have none.
Okay, Ida?
I do. I want to welcome the new commissioners and just to say how pleased I am that we now have a full board. Yeah, like Liz said, I was by myself. So, and glad that Dan is back. And I'm really looking forward to progressive movement and improvement of San Juan Bautista. And I think with the, again, knowledge, experience, wealth of information that we have in front of us, and I think the way that this committee has run tonight shows a lot of promise and open and honest. And then I wanted to make sure, because I was not in attendance when Ilse and Ashley were elected and sworn in to be part of the city. I want to welcome you because I can see now there's a lot of knowledge there too and power, I think, and you're going to make City of San Juan a very promising place for others to feel like this is the place for them to live and raise their families. And so I see a lot of promise, and I thank everyone for being here tonight. There is one thing I brought to Dan, and I'm kind of confused by it, but I'm going to bring it up. says town hall meeting on February 11th, Liz. And the thing says, and no offense, I hope, it says, we're selecting a new city manager. We are.
At a town
That's,
hall
that's
meeting?
not
Ah,
what we're doing
that-
at the town hall meeting, right?
Okay, good. Well, it's right here. So I was just like, wait.
It's an opportunity. Technically your interim city
Yes,
manager,
right.
which means didn't go through a full public vetting.
Okay.
I was selected by the council and submitted kind of my resume, and the subcommittee made their recommendation, right?
Mhm.
But the city does have to go through a formal hiring process,
Okay.
which means they get input from the members of the community. They draft updated job description. They make salary recommendations, and that's all done through a consulting firm.
Okay.
So there is a consultant that is working with the council on hiring an official city manager.
Okay.
So that's how that process works. So in the next several months, they'll open up the process, and then everyone will have an opportunity who's interested in applying for the city manager position.
Thank you. Yeah, that was just a little bit confusing for me. Maybe everybody else knew, but I was just like, wait a minute. I'm talking to her right now.
I just like,
I haven't even seen
I
it.
just, I don't want to hurt your feelings, Ashley, but I got a piece of paper here.
Yeah.
Hope this isn't gonna come as a surprise.
Well, hey, we're here, like open, honest communications going on over here.
You might want to be at the community hall on February 11th. That's just what I'm thinking.
Well, there we are.
So Eddie, you said you had no comments, right?
That is correct.
I do have one. I wanted to ask about, and I'm going back to the HRB and I apologize. In the documents, I read somewhere that one that as board members, we are supposed to pick one project that we'd like to work on for the year. And we kind of didn't go over that, things that we'd like to see improved, or I didn't get that much into the details of it yet. But my question is, can we kind of do the same thing here? Can we say, here's some projects I'd like to see us work on, just kind of like what I did with the lighting, and I have an additional idea in regards to signage. I was talking to Robert Eliason, is that his last name? And he was telling me how he had actually seen the records that our original fathers came up with when they founded the city. And he said that he started naming off some of these rules, like you can't abuse your horse while you're in town. Okay, yeah, well, none of us want to abuse our horse, but the fact that you could do it at home, but not, in town is kind of funny. And there's a number of those, right? And I thought it would be really fun to see if we couldn't figure out a way to put those at all of the entrances. And of course, I know that the city does not have a lot of money, so we'd have to figure out a way to pay for it. But that is one project that I would love to see, because I think that that's an opportunity for people who are coming and visiting town to take pictures. They can laugh. It's something that will stick in their mind when they leave, and will make us unique and help, again, with the foot traffic and the business that our town needs in order to be successful.
So what I would encourage each of us to do, if you have, like, let's take Elisa's idea for historic signage, let's call it, putting it here and there. Text or email me or Ilse, and then because what oftentimes happens is that's appropriate for a discussion item, and then Ilse says, yeah, let's talk about it as a planning commission, see if it's got legs, see if it goes somewhere. And Liz can put it on the agenda as a discussion item, and then you can talk with Ilse as to, and when we get to that agenda item, I'm like, okay, let's hear what is it that we want to discuss. And that's for anything. The Brown Act says the public's business shall be conducted in public. So instead of you and I and Chris getting together at Vertigo to talk about this, that might be a little sketchy. So let's have that conversation in here. How do we do that? By discussing it as a discussion item on the agenda. And that's true for all of you guys. Just get it on there. And that way we keep, like Ida was referring to that. And I feel it too. There's just a great energy with this commission in this year and with this very talented staff, and holy smokes, we can accomplish some great stuff. So you're probably going to have ideas, as I said, like, because who wants, let's face it, who has an idea if you think that's not going to go anywhere? It's not, you know. If you think, no, this actually might happen, then that might encourage more ideas. Get them on the agenda. Email or text or call, it'll say it. You know, as a discussion thing.
Thank you.
Does that sound cool?
Yes, thank you.
Andy, Ida, let's see. You?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I just, a couple of comments. Well, you touched on the Brown Act. That actually is, sorry. I'll grab the mic. You touched on the Brown Act, and I think that might be an appropriate future agenda item as well. Some Brown Act training, because we have a couple of new members who've probably never had been subject to. I think that one of my frustrations with the planning commission over the years has been I'd like to see more activism, and I think we have a group that is very much on board with the idea of addressing issues, addressing changes, making changes, and getting ahead of stuff, which is, I think, one of the problems we've had as a community is that we have a lot of what I would call outdated ordinances. And so the opportunity for someone to come in, get a project approved because it meets the general guidelines of the general plan or some of the other ordinances that exist here. And then we're stuck because we can't get it changed in time to affect that project that's now in the process and they have rights, and you know, we can't really do anything about it. So I really feel strongly that we need to get ahead of a lot of that stuff, especially as that subject is evolving rapidly in the state of California, and the state is requiring more and more of us. And I think my last comment is that the general plan is really important in one particular area because the staff looks to that for guidance. And there has been a disconnect from time to time between what the community vision is and what's in the general plan, because the general plan was created at some point in the past, and the community's sort of standards have evolved, and yet the staff is working toward the general plan, and it creates a rift between the staff and the community, and between the board in some cases. And so it's really important for that communication to be happening so that we're making it very clear, and we're keeping that stuff updated so the staff is not working so the groups are not working at cross purposes. And then, they're doing their job. Their job is to fulfill that plan. If that plan's out of date, we're not going to be happy with their performance, and through no fault of their own. And we've seen that, I think, in a couple of I can think of two particularly in the last 5 or 6 years, two individuals who worked at the city where they just were completely out of step with the community. And that's on us. That's not on them. That's on us for not keeping this stuff up to date. Anyway, thanks.
May I ask a question in regards to that?
Sure.
There's a lot of ordinances.
Yep.
There's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying. And my question is, tell me how you see us starting. How do we figure which ones we address first? And under which scope, right? Is it fences? Is it lighting? Is it facades? How do you decide that?
Can I say something? It might address what she's asking. It might address what she's asking. Liz, is there the California City League training that like I had attended last year? That would be very useful for not only the new ones, but even the ones that have been in the commission or council to go to that workshop. It's two days, I think, 3 days. And I went because last year was my first one. And I learned so much. So your questions, such as the ordinances, his question about the general plan, they go over it. And it is an opportunity to meet other planning commissioners from the different towns and a range of sizes of towns and populations and historic and whatnot. If we have that opportunity this year, then I would like to see that, you know, if not all of us, maybe 90% of us attend. And then that way we can break out into those sessions and bring back what we've learned to share with one another, because the questions you are asking and that his eagerness to learn, I think is going to be satisfied by, partially satisfied by attending that, but then it will give us something to work with. It'll give us a base. So if you could, it's next month and the city actually provides for, right? Okay, so, lodging,
Yeah.
meals and so on.
I'd like to address the question more specifically, I think. It just comes a time, like Eddie said he was reading through the plan, the general plan. Take notes, you know, if there's stuff that you don't get, you don't understand why it's written the way it is, or it just seems goofy for whatever reason, you know, make those notes and bring them in and talk to different folks. I have been referring to my 2 pages of ordinances that I think need to be updated. And this is not something that I came up with in the last, month since I got, appointed here. This is stuff that came mostly out of my time serving on the city council, 45 years ago. And stuff that's come up because I think I mentioned, we cut down 5 trees on the lot across the street from our house. So the tree permit's on here because tree permit's a joke. The wall versus fence. Somebody mentioned the fence. I think you mentioned fences. There's no definition, there's no differentiation between a wall and a fence, and what the design requirements would be for a wall versus a fence. And that came up because of a specific property on 3rd Street that built a wall that didn't conform to anything, but the city manager at the time said, yeah, go ahead and do it. And then realized that it was too close to the fire hydrant. So it blocks the fire hydrant, and this stuff is just going to come up from time to time. And, so you make notes, you figure it out, you see where the pain points are for different people. You'll get calls. You're going to start to get calls, and people are going to start getting in your ear. But we put a new roof on our house. And that's why I brought up the design or the historic review process, because I had to spend a bunch of money to have my house reviewed for its historic value before I could get a permit to put the roof on. And I mean, one look at my house and they remodeled all the historic value of that house in the 1960s. And yet it cost quite a bit of money to go through that process, and caused a delay in getting the roof put on because I was unaware. And that was my bad. I was unaware. So yeah, it's the stuff will come up, and the priorities will change, I'll be gung ho about something, but something else will overtake it as circumstances come up. So
Yeah, and
it's a process.
just to add to that, hopefully with the future agenda items, as a commission together holistically, we can figure out what items we want to address as the meetings go on. So that's also one of the purposes for the future agenda items. There are a lot of things that need to be addressed. And I'm just one person. You guys, or we all meet once a month. So we also need to be mindful of the time that we have and the capacity that we all have. So hopefully with these future agenda items, we can all decide together, okay, as a team together, all of us, let's try to address the site design review permit process for minor projects. Take it as it comes, because if we all look at it overall, it can be overwhelming, intimidating. But if we take it piece by piece, we can slowly start putting that puzzle back together the way it should be.
So my priority would be, some foundational training you know, for future agenda items, foundational training so that we don't do stupid illegal stuff. And then probably prioritize Ilsa's list because it's the stuff that she's interacting with the public on most urgently, and then getting to our sort of pet projects or whatever. That's how I would approach it, but
Is it Ilsa or Ilse?
They'll say, like partay, they'll say.
Everybody in the. Ilse, the
Thank you
partay.
for asking.
Everybody in the world says his last name wrong. Including me. For it.
Mortadella,
Yeah.
Macarena.
Okay, as promised, I got a few things. This might take a minute.
Uh-oh.
After you get done, with your 20 minutes. Starting with one thing out of order though, because it came up last, education, California League of Cities that Ida referred to. I went to that twice, I think. The first time was maybe 30 years ago when I first started doing this stuff. Changed my life. And I'm not getting paid, and I'm not one for hyperbole. It's really unreal, unbelievably great. Both in terms of the substance, the content, also hey, you're from Grass Valley? No way. Grass Valley's cool. What do you guys do? Oh, we do this. Oh, that's a good idea. I mean, just hobnobbing and rubbing shoulders with those people, connections. Oh, take my number. Okay, great. Yeah, text me. Can you send me that to me? Yeah, I'll send you a whole thing. All right, great. Yeah. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's really, really awesome. The one I went to was in Long Beach, I think, both times. Is it still in Long Beach or SAC? Where?
Santa Rosa.
Same format though. And I don't know, because it's been so long, but you used to be able to pick your classes like you're back in school, like you choose
You set your sessions, yeah.
yeah, your sessions, yeah. So you can pick the stuff that interests you and skip all the boring stuff. And then you're not there it's not, you're there to learn, at least. You're not there to just skate like you did in school, obviously.
Probably went to Santa Barbara.
But
There's a lot of legal matters that you're
keynote
gonna
speaker,
learn.
legal stuff explained. It's very, very valuable. I was talking to the mayor, Leslie Jordan, about this just the other night. She agrees strongly. She's strong encouragement for each of us to do this. There's budget for it to handle all this, travel, stay in the night, whatever. So let's do it. Let's all sign up and go.
March 5th, it's the first week of
Yeah.
the month,
I skipped.
and it's for 3 days. I
Yeah.
thought it was
Wednesday through Friday.
Thursday,
Mhm.
Friday.
I skipped the
March
punchline.
5th, 6th, 7th.
So therefore, Liz, can you make a note to send out whatever you need to promotional wise to each planning commissioner so we can take a look at that?
Yes, will do, Chair.
And then signups, I assume, go through you, or do they sign up directly on the site?
No, I do all the travel arrangements.
So after people look at it, they say, yeah, I want to go, they just let you know that.
Yes.
How easy could that be?
Well, I will tell you that Liz is a star on that. You don't have to do anything. You tell her yes, she's got you.
Star on everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Next thing, by way of housekeeping.
Sure, could I make a comment? Also, I wanted to mention that we have a membership with the California Historical Preservation, and yes, and almost every month, they have webinars that you can attend. So I can send out information, you can, so you can register, and then you'll get emails about upcoming webinars. And you can also let me know, and we can register you. And I think with our membership, we get free webinars. So let me know, I'll send you more information as well. And then you guys can take advantage of that as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Thanks for that plug. So yeah, as she mentioned, all you have to do is go on their site and you enter your email address, blah, 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 say who you are, and then they'll just start inundating you with these opportunities, some of which are completely irrelevant to us, like improving downtown Oakland. Like, ooh, I don't know if we have a whole lot in common with, a very urban environment.
Mhm.
But other things like preserving history, whatever, and the webinar format's super easy because you're just kicking it at your computer and you can learn a lot about stuff. And they have great speakers that are very qualified, so it's free because we belong.
And then one other comment, your emails, your city emails should all be working. If you have any issues or are not able to log in, please let me know. But everything should be up and running now.
Great.
The details to put it in. I could have missed it very easily.
Okay, education's done. Oh, so now, little bit of housekeeping. One of my last acts on the city council was to form this thing called the UGB committee, which had a lot of success culminating in the urban growth boundary and so forth. And on that committee, Chris was the chair, I was the vice chair. It was comprised of 2 planning commissioners, and this was by design. This is what I originally proposed. 2 council persons, 2 commissioners, and 1 public at large. The way and it lasted for too long. But at the end, it was David Maderos and I for the planning commission, Jackie and EJ from the council, and Chris was public at large. And then he was also, we voted him to be the chair, and it went very great, very well. It went really well. Then there was okay, so we turned in our homework, and it looked good. That, by the way, just by way of update, that memorandum of understanding, which was kind of our deliverable as a committee to the council, was approved by the council. It's going to be presented to San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors on February 18th. Ariel Goodspeed, the senior planner over at the county, called me, and I'm going to go over and be there with her to present it to the board. I think Leslie Jordan is going to go with me. I talked with the chair of the UGB committee, Chris. I don't think you're available, you said.
I believe, at this point, I believe I'll be out of town, yeah.
So whatever, we'll have a good showing there, and we'll hopefully make a good pitch. Here's the point. After the deliverable was delivered, then the question is, well, do we need this committee anymore? And Don Reynolds said, well, I think there's some benefit to having it around in case we want the committee to do whatever, fill in the blank. And one of the things that Don came up with then, that I was talking about with Liz today, is maybe the UGB committee can take an initial look at this thing I mentioned earlier, the infill study that EMC did. Lift up the hood, take a look. How many, what is it all about? And, the scope of what that looking at of the infill study would consist of, that could be further refined, obviously, it needs to be. But that could be an example of a use of this committee, because it was not disbanded. It was kind of put on the shelf in case it's needed. So for all those reasons, then, I think that'd be appropriate. So now, how's life changed? Chris has gone from being a public at-large person to a planning commissioner. If that committee continues to exist, I'd like to stay on it. So the question is whether Chris should stay on it too, as now a planning commissioner, in which case the public spot's open and we could start recruiting and thinking about a public person would be good. Or maybe you say, no, I don't want to really do that, and that's fine. I'm assuming that Jackie and EJ will want to stay on as the council representatives. So therefore, if you kind of indicated, okay, you want to be on it. Okay. So then we need an idea for a public person. And as Liz said, well, this afternoon she reminded me, we can't take action on that. I'm not suggesting we do. But what I am saying is we all know a lot of people, us 5. So be thinking, asking, hey, do you want to be on this committee? The standing subcommittee for the city. The amount of work would be negligible. When we were doing UGB full throttle, it was once a month for an hour or so, not a whole lot of reading or anything. So it's pretty minimal effort, but could potentially be taking up some important things, like how many houses can we fit within the city limits, like we were talking about before. That's a weighty question. Along with that includes subsidiary questions like, well, if we can't go out, do we go up? Should we start building, thinking about, Ida mentioned the D'Ambrosio, whatever it's called now, being 3 stories. Well, is that what the future holds? If we don't want to go on to prime ag ground, how do we increase density? I don't know what the scope of this committee is going to be, but it is an opportunity, so
Going back to
there you have it.
going back to your public at large, is there a requirement of this person to live within city boundary, or
Yes.
can they? Okay,
I would say yes.
okay.
For not to be exclusionary to somebody. I
Well,
mean,
because,
I'm thinking
you've
of Joe
got,
and Julie Morris who live by the retreat. I mean, they're awesome. And
I was
love
gonna
them.
say, there are people there and.
Right.
you know,
But on the other hand, these issues, well, it's the same reason that, it's a requirement that you live in the city if you want to run for council.
Okay.
Or I think planning commission, yeah.
Yeah.
In the city. You want people who have skin in the game, I
Mm.
think,
Okay,
within our city limits. So that's the idea behind that. So I think, yes, I think the public member should be a city resident. But start thinking about it. If you have any ideas or if anyone's interested, you can certainly pass those along to Liz, maybe. Liz, right? Or Ilse or both. Ilse? Okay. Pass those along to Ilse.
Yeah, you can send that over to me. I do need to look at how the formation of this committee came about and if there's any bylaws or any of the legal stuff that
No, there's no
comes into
bylaws.
play.
It was all legit.
Constitute.
We didn't do it at Daisy's one night. It was appointed by the city council. It was created and appointed by the city council, fulfilled by the city council.
Okay.
This is all a council thing. And in fact, the public person would be a council appointment. All I'm doing is putting the word out.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
council can put the word out too, and I'll talk to Leslie about that.
The council has to vote on
Correct.
with the flyer
It's a
and
council
yeah.
appointment. We're not appointing this person.
Yeah.
The council would do that.
Mm.
But what we can do is beat the bushes and see if anyone is interested.
okay.
We can certainly do that.
the council has to approve a flyer being sent out and open the recruitment, which they have not done yet. Yes, so
This is the
that's
very-
step one.
Very first conversation we've had
Yeah.
on the topic.
Correct.
Whatever it is. And the council could very well say, we don't want that committee anymore anyway. Okay, fine, then we don't need a public person or don't even need the committee, but that's just kind of a loose end that needs to be tied down one way or the other. Next was something that Elise mentioned, because she got that from me. It's the concept of field trips, and I'm very serious about that. I think it's going to be very cool and something that's really fun and most importantly, really beneficial to our community. And here's the vision. Every quarter, we as a planning commission and as an HRB go to a designated spot and we cruise around.
Not in a bus though, right?
No. And let's set the stage at the very start. This would be all self-funded, self-driven, self-everything. If you want to, if it's a couple hours away and you and your husband want to stay the night or your significant other, knock yourselves out. Just be for 2 or 3 hours to check out a community that we can learn something from, at the end of which you're on your own, whatever. As far as Brown Act stuff, I'll talk with Liz more about this because this is the first I've told her about it. But I'm thinking that we could notice it so that we're all fully, and the planning commission will be walking around the streets of Grass Valley or whatever on this date, blah, blah, blah. I think we can do the noticing the right way to where there's no concerns there. We're not going to be talking about pending anything anyway. We're just going to be kind of exposing ourselves to other communities that have gotten it right in major ways without paying a consultant $25,000 to get a report that says the same thing. This will be free. And another part of the vision is wherever we choose as a destination, I will commit to working with that entity, municipality, county, whatever it is, to have someone from there meet with us and say, well, here's how we accomplished this, and here's what we did with that. And here's some of the challenges you might face. And here's some of the successes we have. Here's some of the heartburn that we've received. Whatever, we can really, really learn a lot by kind of broadening our horizons, and no fiscal impact to the city whatsoever. No buses, no meals, no anything. We'll just all show up at the designated location. So once a quarter is the idea. It's going to be open to whoever wants to go. Members of the public can go. The historic ladies can come, whoever wants to come, can just come check out this community with us. So I'd like the first one to happen in spring. We can get calendars out and all that stuff downstream. And I think I'll unilaterally suggest for the first kickoff field trip to be the city or the community of Columbia. It's not an incorporated city. I found out quickly with Google.
Really?
So actually, I think, as far as I've been able to tell so far, I think that County of Sacramento runs it somehow, but they probably have a standalone situation to deal with it because Columbia is so special. Kind of like Los Olivos is to Santa Barbara County, or Montecito is to Santa Barbara County, neither one of which are incorporated.
Right.
So therefore, the Santa Barbara Board of Supervisors governs what happens in Montecito. But Montecito has its own little stuff set up to handle itself. So anyway, we can learn about that. But how has, the whole goal, I think, is to preserve history, but become even more economically viable. So what are communities that have been able to accomplish that? Places you want to go for a weekend. You want to take your significant other, hey, let's go to such and such place. They're desirable, they're destination. They make you want to go there because they're so cute or nice, or the shops, or Mendocinos, or the Fieldsburgs, or you know what I mean? Places that have really gotten it right. Huh?
Eugene, maybe.
Is it a girl? Yeah, Lighthouse. Downtown PG. Carmel by the Sea, what are they doing? Carmel by the Sea is doing a lot of things right. Do you know that they have, talk about design review, Gary Coates, he's a guy, a planner guy. He says that in the city of Carmel, I didn't know this, you cannot paint your house like light blue. It's got to be some earth tone. A house, think of that, in the entire village. They have a color palette for the village. We have a color palette for the historic district. But so they take aesthetics very seriously in Carmel by the Sea. And yeah, we could certainly go over there. I know the mayor of Carmel, and he'd be happy to host us. So Columbia this spring, that'll be the first one. As to the other field trip destinations, be thinking about them. Where would you like to go? Bring them with you to the next meeting, and we'll kick them around, and then we'll choose a date, and I'll backfill this vision, this concept with Liz, with John Giffen, with Ashley. You'll say if there's any problems or what, to make this a reality. What am I missing? And we'll put the legs underneath the table. So,
When you say spring, are you thinking Q1, Q2? And the sooner, I know, I hate to do this, but I've got some big projects coming up and I need to plan.
we'll do it on a Saturday that works with your schedule. And during the month that people traditionally associate with spring, which would end, I would say, in May.
Okay.
March, April, or May.
Thank you.
Spring, summer, fall. Okay. Also, I want to, in the same vein as that UGB committee that I mentioned, I would like to think about and start a conversation with the council about forming what I've referred to as Downtown Improvement Committee, and have that be similarly constituted to the way we did UGB. 2 planning commissioners, 2 city council members, and a public person, and then also maybe someone from the Historic Society have a seat at the table. The goal of the Downtown Improvement Committee being things that we as a community can do right now, tomorrow, next week, to make downtown more attractive, more desirable, a better place for tourists to come, to inspire economic activity. Simple things, maybe there's, flower baskets we can hang from the light posts, or the barrels. What are those about? Are those barrels going to stay there for the next 100 years? Facades, I think Chris mentioned. Chris and I also have had conversations about downtown special assessment districts. What do those look like, and what communities have done those successfully, and what can those, but just a committee devoted to discussions about how our downtown could be made better. And if there is, on one of the Ilse's flowcharts, there was a Third Street master plan idea. That has been an idea and kicked around and talked about for years and years and years and years. If that gets on the ground, that will most likely involve retaining a consultant at a pretty good chunk of change, and that's great. And this would not be to the exclusion of that. Instead, it could be as a lead in to that or a segue to that. Like, oh, welcome. Yeah, we're glad that you're here. Such and such firm from Sacramento. We've been having conversations about this, and here's what some of the stuff that we've already thought through and what's important to us and what's not. I can tell you over the years, there's been a lot of efforts to do the same kind of thing. We had a group of grad students come from Cal Poly, and the planner back in those days was a guy named Matthew Sant, they'll say, from Golden West Planning, and he was our guy, like Erica is now, and his wife Elizabeth Character, and they brought Cal Poly here, and they called it design charrettes. We're gonna do a design charrette. I don't know if you've come across this stuff back there. Have you seen it?
All about charrettes.
Or you do? So yeah, it's kind of a fancy word. It means like it's hocus pocus. We're gonna talk about some great designs for your downtown. And they came up with some interesting ideas. They wanted to close the street by the Plaza Hotel. What is that, Washington? No. Where the little cabin is.
Polk?
Where Mission Cafe.
Yeah, it's not
Mission-
Washington, it's the next one down. It's Polk Street?
No, it's
No,
not
it's-
Polk.
I can't-
Anyway, the street that has Mission Cafe on it,
Yeah.
they wanted to close that down and make it into like some big pedestrian mall kind of deal, very walkable, kind of almost like a Santana Row vibe. And they had pictures, they had drawings and illustrations what this could look like. So anyway, there's been a lot of talk over the years about doing something, and the problem is sometimes those talks are very expensive because the people having them charge you for them. And I'm a big believer in nobody knows better than us who live here, shop here and work here and drive these streets and walk them with your dog or otherwise every day. I'm sure if I spent time with each one of you, you would already have some ideas. Why don't we do this? Or how about that? I think this would be cute. Or I went to this little town and I really liked how they did that. So the idea, the concept here is to form a committee, standing committee through the council called the Downtown Improvement Committee. I just want to float that out there into the ether right now, and I'll see if it gets any traction with the council. If they like the idea too. If it goes somewhere, then that would be great.
If I could make one suggestion,
Absolutely.
is the makeup of the downtown improvement committee could be changed to include or could add a business representative.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for saying. Well, you notice I said and a public at-large person. I would
But that would be different from a public at large.
no.
Well,
No,
in my,
let me just finish. I feel strongly that the public person should be a business person, either with one of the business organizations or a business person or whatever, but not just somebody who doesn't have.
well, I'm saying have the business person and another person like within the community who might know, because you also mentioned the historic, maybe a representative from the Historic Society.
Right.
So you're getting more of a wholesome view of what downtown could look like, would look like, and would appeal to the different.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Ida, totally. I thought about that too. But the problem, of course, well, you got to have an odd number, right?
7.
So I even wrote that down. 7.
Mm-hmm.
Is 7 the right number? It may be.
Yeah.
You may be right.
Yeah, you don't want to be too large.
17. No, 7. Yeah, I mean, the smaller, the easier it is to work with. Is 7 going to put it over the edge? I don't think so. Is there more benefit to having 7 because you get those different types of people that outweighs the extra burden? Yeah, there may be. That can be the council decide, but I totally hear what you're saying. I have the same thought.
Yeah.
But don't you guys like the idea? Let's start having those conversations, right? What can we do to make our little downtown better today? We got to get budget. Ashley's got to work it in. She's got to get proposals. We got to have a request for proposal. That's a month or two just to get that thing sent out. and then months and months of coming back, and you gotta allocate, it's gotta be funded. Let's have that conversation now. Lastly, last thing, Ilse's email was epic. I hope you guys all took the time
Oh, yeah,
to read it.
very much appreciated.
Embedded within that email were resources all in one place, the likes of which I've never seen before. I think it's unprecedented in this town. And save it, because there may be times when you want to click on one of those things and do your life good. So thank you again for putting that together.
No problem.
Very representative of what you did, along with the future calendar presentation that you did tonight, breaking it down for us. It's comprehensive, clear, understandable. So I know you put a lot of effort into that, and this is where your experience shows. So very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you all, also providing your feedback to help make this happen. So I appreciate and value everybody's time here to also help guide what this should look like. So thank you all as well.
All right, planning commissioner comments are done. City manager comments?
Thank you. I just wanted to, I introduced myself the last meeting, but I'll introduce myself again. Ashley Collick, your interim city manager. I am happy to be here. I thought I should take 1 minute to say I'm really, really big on community and collaboration and community engagement. It's one of, if I had a specialty, I'd say that's what it is, because I love working with people and I see the power in that spirit, and and it's represented very well here. I see that everyone here is super, super eager to get things done and to work together to do that. So I'm really excited to be here. Really excited to work with each of you. And again, since this is my second month, at the beginning of my second month, I ask for your patience while I catch up really quickly and learn as much as I can about the community.
I just want to say thank you to Ashley for jumping in and helping us all out and making sure that the city has what it needs to be able to also move forward. She's entering her second month, but feels like she's been here a very long time. She's getting the hang of things really well, and her leadership and commitment to the city is amazing. So thank you, Ashley. The other thing I did want to let you all know is that the city is going to be hosting a fire services meeting at the end of the month. What day is it again? Oh, yes. It's going to be February 22nd. That one's going to be in person, and also on the 27th virtually, I believe. But the event information is going to be made public, but I just wanted to give you all a heads up, as well as the public, that is coming. It's very important for the community to attend, get that information, know what's going on with fire services here in the community and what it means for all of us. So I just wanted to put that one up on your radar. And I think that's it on my end.
That's the 22nd of February, right?
Yes.
At what time do you remember? Do you have any chance?
I believe it's 1 to 3.
And all of this will be online.
Yes, it's going to be posted online. I think we're just waiting for some final confirmations of speakers, but we're going to get that information out by next week.
Okay, John, I assume you don't have anything, or you would say something, and if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Good meeting, sir. Yeah, you got the snacks here from Liz.
Hey, thanks for
Let's see that.